Is technology taking over our lives?
I think pretty much everyone relies on technology today. It's just how the world works with education and work and all that.
For a lot of college work is based using computers, so that, and then I spend half my life on my laptop at home, so yeah.
I use it all the time, it's sort of a way of contact anyone I feel I should.
Mobile phones have become more prevalent in our society now as they've adapted over the coming decades to suit our needs. Like back in the day, this big hunk of plastic, this was your mama's mobile phone. Look how ridiculous this is. I can't fit that in my pocket. That's insane.
Everybody seems to have smartphones and iPhones nowadays. I don't, but that's just because I've never really found them very useful. I just forget to charge them up and things like that.
I use technology every day. I'm going on my phone every couple of minutes, checking for new texts, checking for new tweets, checking for new messages and contact.
According to studies, 90% of national adults own some form of mobile phone, and of this percentage, 64% of adults own a smartphone. Of course, the USA is regarded as one of the most civilized and technologically advanced countries in the world. And compared to another separate study from start to mid-2015, this eclipses the lesser statistics of a focus group from Pakistan, where actually only 53% claims to own a smartphone. 3% own a smartphone in specific. The average age range of participants in this study were 18 to 29, so young adults. China prevailed in terms of the percentage of people owning a cell phone, amounting to 95% of their focus group. Two UK-based studies from late 2013 were conducted in order to find out the trends of technology on young focus groups. The first study was carried out on a group of 6,500 children aged 7 to 8 years old. Key findings from the study were revealed that of the group, 51% were committed to physical activity of varying sorts, 38% were girls, and they were less active than the whopping 62% of boys. Meanwhile, the latter study worked out that the average British child picks up their first mobile phone at about 12 years old. 1 in 10 children had gained their first phone at 5 years old, a figure which may indicate towards the acceptance of our primary question. The fact alone could serve as proof that gradually more and more people within the younger age will be exposed to higher levels of technology now. When I got the time, I took myself right down to the Vodafone in Hampshire to talk to Dean, and he had a lot to say about technology and how it's used in this day and age.
Well, obviously working in in an environment where I'm surrounded by technology all the time, I rely on it for things like my emails showing customers how to use their phones and things like that.
Do you think over the coming decades that people will become even more reliable, or not reliant on technology, and to what point?
Yes, they will become more reliant. It's going to be everywhere. There's not going to be a single part of the world that is not going to have some kind of technology.
What are your views on it being so easily accessible? Because it's surely got its give and take.
It's good that technology is easily accessible to everyone, but it's how it's monitored is the main issue. Anyone can access anything now. How
do you recall technology specifically progressing since your youth, between then and now?
Well, from my youth, I never used technology. I didn't have a phone. I had a games console, but I wasn't using it that often. I was out playing with my friends at the park and stuff like that. In phone technology, in particular, they're absolutely crazy to what they used to be. So it's progressed massively over the last few years.
How many hours a day would you say that you use that then?
Quite a lot, so probably about 8.
6. But 6 outside of college, but you never know how much technology you're going to use in the college.
Probably about 3 hours.
Probably about 3 hours plus whatever time I have in college to do work, I guess. So probably about 4 or 5 hours a day.
I would say pretty much permanently all day.
It's probably about 7 hours of my day.
Being in the era we're in, the internet is surely something recognised in practically every household around the world. As we go on, the internet will only continue to grow to immense size and ability, which could then implicate difficulties to prize upcoming generations away from technology. Data was released based on international internet access rates as of November 2015. Now, 87% of North America's general population were recorded as internet users, the highest internet usage percent in context with the population. Now, the second highest percentage was held in Europe, with 74% of the general population having internet access. Asia followed as the third continent, with only 56% having access. Now, despite this ordering, they are regarded as the most technically advanced continents in the world, but whether or not the respective levels of advancements have an influence on the usage of technology in each region cannot be confirmed. Another study, also carried out at the end of 2015, was carried out on a group of an unspecified size. 1.3 billion people have a Facebook profile, while 302 million people had Instagram. 289 million people had Twitter, a fraction of the amount of Facebook users.
Social media is pretty much 100%. Social media, work, contacting, you know.
I use the standard kind of social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, all of these kind of things.
Within the gaming industry, ESRB, also known as the Entertainment Software Ratings Board, who are known for certifying the age range in games, they produced stats based on the gaming statistics of the USA in 2010. From their findings, they split the entire focus group into separate age groups. 25% were under 18 years of age, 49% were 18 to 49 years old, and 26% were put into the 50-year-old and over group. Furthermore, an average of 8 hours a week was spent on gaming. And on an extra note, 64% of parents felt that gaming was an essential part of their children's lives. Now, fast forward by 5 years, approximately 155 million American residents were considered gamers, with an average of 2 games per household. The ESA noticed that the average age of the gamer is 35 years old, 1 year older compared to the ESRB study 5 years earlier in 2010. Also, the average game usage duration had increased by 1 year. The typical gamer spent around 13 years of their lives playing video games, as opposed to the previous 12 years in 2010. A vast 62% of Americans frequently play games on their PCs. Also, the average game usage duration had increased by 1 year. The typical gamer spent around 13 years of their lives playing video games, as opposed to the previous 12 years in 2010. In conclusion, after analysing the consumption of technologically advanced devices, we question whether or not technology acts as a distraction to our daily lives, or if it can be an assistance to certain aspects of it. As a result of the general population influx, in terms of technological consumption, it is almost certain that technology as a whole will only grow upon us as the years and decades roll on. Positive or negative, technology is bound to have an effect on our daily life in future periods to come. I'm Logan Bailey, thank you for watching.